The Apes are back, and today we're talking about GameStop, also known as GME. Dane's going to start with our shameless plugs, so let's get into it.
Thanks, Paul. The first thing we want to talk about here is YouTube. So apparently, by our statistics, only 12% of you that watch these videos are currently subscribed. So please hit that sub button, ring the bell, click whatever other buttons you need to subscribe. I don't know. We can really improve this, though. And then you just get notified instantly whenever we release a video. Additionally, more shameless plugs for our other social media. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's all at Daily Stockcast. And then finally, we have the Patreon /Daily Stockcast as well. Again, we have the subscription tier. So the $5 gets you the Discord access. The $10 gets you the Discord access plus the $5 from the 10 goes into our Gamblers Anonymous fund, which we will be starting up in a couple weeks once we get a certain reservoir amount. And then for the $50 option, you can also DM Paul to ask him any personal stock-related questions, or maybe just some questions about his life if you want to learn more about him.
If you want to, that sounds great.
He might be that interesting.
Maybe. Maybe not.
I'll do a lot for $50. But that's it for the plug, so we can get into GME here today. So tell us more about GME here, Paul.
So GME has been uptrending since, I remember we were talking about like 2 weeks ago, you and I said something about, once it breaks over 200, we're more in an uptrend, and earnings were coming on 6/9, which is today. So I was like, all right, well, if we uptrend into earnings, and then hopefully we can, see where we're going to go from now. Historically, earnings have not been that good but we know that, right? We know historically in the past, because GameStop's not doing that well, right? This is why it got to where it was. It was supposed to be this bankrupt stock that's not going to do anything,
right? So
everyone shorts and then squeezes, right? So now the turnaround story is that because Ryan Cohen, who was the CEO of Chewy, made all this money, and he invested some in the GameStop because he sees it as a turnaround story that, it's a company that we can fix. So that was weeks ago. Now we get to here where we're trending up. Earnings were today. So they're expected to lose around, 84 cents a share. And they actually beat it because then, they beat it by like 39 cents. So they still lost money again, but it's not really an earnings story. So everyone's like expecting, some crazy earnings or whatever, but we know they're going to lose. It's just not, at this point, especially with COVID, it's just not possible that they're going to be making any money realistically. So they lost money. Again, not surprising. Stock moves down a little bit. And then the other thing was Ryan Cohen was going to they needed a CEO and a CFO. So they ended up poaching 2 executives from Amazon. So you're like, okay, great, perfect, right? So that in my mind, I'm like, they're respectable people that have been in the business for a while and basically know how to form, in my mind, what GameStop should be is that they should be the Amazon of gaming in a sense, right? Like, they're not going to be necessarily the brick and mortar store that we grew up with as kids. They can still do that, but they also need to be from what we know too personally, with online gaming. Like, you have to be in that space to make any money.
Right. So I don't go to the store anymore to sell my Xbox for best I can do is $7.
Right.
I now mail it in, right? And then they give me the $7 credit.
Yeah, it's only a credit. Yeah. You don't get cash. I got 30 games. All right, we can give you $3, maybe, whatever.
Right. So they're the visionary leads, right, of what GameStop will become in the future.
In the future, that's ideally what's going to happen. However, and the other thing that they're waiting on is the proxy votes. So for the shareholders' votes, we don't know actually how many votes have been tallied so far, but the idea is that if there are these synthetic short shares out there, that there in theory should be more votes than the public float out there, and that this will take, apparently from what my understanding is, we'll know by like Monday or Tuesday. But if we find out that there are more public votes from the shareholders meeting in shares than the amount of shares held in the float, then there has clearly been illegal naked short selling activity, because they're synthetic shares. How else would you get where do these shares come? They came from thin air, which is illegal, but sometimes, well, let's say, who or why, or, it's speculation, but some of these, market makers or anyone else they're exempt from certain rules which allow them to possibly use naked shorting as a technique to drive price down if need be.
Gotcha. So we have Matt Furlong appointed the new CEO. We have Mike Recupero, the new CFO. And then I think there was one other announcement with the 5 million shares that they were going to sell at the market.
They filed to do a 5 million share offering at the market. So that would raise another approximately $1.4 billion. They already have $770 million in cash, I think. So that would bring them up to about $2 billion in cash, which, if they want to use for acquisitions, or they're debt free too. They have no debt. So basically they're just attempting to raise, I think, cash for possible acquisitions or whatever they want to do. We don't really know what's up their sleeve yet, I think, too, because we just had the shareholders meeting, and Ryan Cohen can't really say anything until this stuff happened.
Sure.
So now that it's happened, and then, we hopefully in the next week to a month, we can find out, what his plans are to turn around the company and bring it back to what it used to be.
Yeah, so on the near future, we'll see the share votes come out, right? So we'll really see if there are synthetic shares or not, right? So that'll add into the squeeze. And then chart-wise, how are we looking right now?
Chart-wise, really the big key, for whatever reason, I don't know why, it seems like an arbitrary number to me, but 350, every time the price creeps up to around 350, someone comes in, either sells a lot of shares or shorts a lot of shares and drives back down to like 300. So it's done this like 2 or 3 times. Even if you look at the chart, back months ago, like 350 was kind of like a point where it seemed like someone didn't want it to go above 350. Again, speculation why, but chart-wise, it looks, if it gets above 350, it's wide open above that. So that's what I'm on the lookout for, any break above 350 within the next, week or two. So
okay. I think that wraps it up for the GME discussion today.
GME to the moon. Apes to the moon.
Apes together strong.
Apes together strong. All right. Thanks, Dane.
Yep. Thank you.
Like, share, subscribe. GME.